For your information, for the event today, we have collaborated with CADS, or we can also call as the Center of Applied Data Science Company. And also we have Miss Madeline as our speaker, who is a very experienced Chief Human Resources Officer with a demonstrated history of success across various industries, lately in financial services. Not a quite traditional HR person, she likes to challenge the status quo where possible to ensure that business can withstand market disruption and compete in a new talent arena. So you all can see we have a very talented speaker with us, Miss Madeline, who's also going to give a talk with the title of Be the Star Data Star Industry Sought For. And I'm very sure we're all going to gain a lot of useful information for this event. I would like to remind again that all of you, before the event ends, we will also have a short photo session, and also a few minutes will be given to you all to fill up the feedback form. Now, to kick off the program, I would like to call upon the moderator from CADS company to moderate the event today. We welcome you, Ms. Husna Nina Muhammad Nizam, the CADS company associate. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tarani. It's Husna Nisa Muhammad Nizam. It's not Husna Nina. But hello, everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning. I hope you guys are doing well, and Selamat Hari Raya for those celebrating. Okay, so this is very early morning for me here because I'm in Germany, but I'm very happy to be here with all of you. And we are very excited to host the session with all of you today. If you want to on your video and accompany us, you are more than welcome to do so. But if not, it's fine also. All right, so without further ado, I would love to invite my dearest colleague here, Madeline, to share more on what we are offering. Also, maybe add some values to all of you in the room as a graduate here. So please welcome Madeline.
Thank you very much, Husna. I hope you can all hear me just well and can see me as well. So I'm not coming from a glamorous location like Husna. I'm coming from KL. I'm joining you guys from KL, my home in Ampang. And like Husna has said, I would like to share a little bit on two facets, basically, for this talk, which is one about the company, the Center of Applied Data Science, because we're always looking for great talent. And also number two, to talk a little bit about how perhaps you can stand out as a nominee, both from a resume and interview perspective going forward. Yeah, I'll start sharing my screen in a short while. Awesome. And let me just start by saying a couple of things as well. First of all, Selamat Hari Raya to those of you who are celebrating. Secondly is I'm glad to be speaking with my alma mater, University Malaya. I was actually a graduate of UM way back in 1998. So very happy to be speaking with you guys here. And thirdly, and lastly, I just wanted to say that if you have any questions at any point in time, please feel free to pop your question into the chat box, okay? And I will, myself and Husna will help moderate the chat box occasionally to see if there are any questions. This is meant to be not just a boring one-sided presentation. So if you have any questions, please do pop that over to the chat box. And at the end of my session, I will pause for a few minutes, in case you have any questions. We can talk about it live on this session directly as well. Okay. So first of all, I'd like to share a little bit about the Center of Applied Data Science. Okay, a bit of echo there. So a little bit about us. Just go on to the next slide. Just give me a second. All right, so our mission and vision, okay, what we're about. Everybody talks about IR 4.0, right? And everybody gets a little bit worried when they talk about IR 4.0 because there is a general perception that as jobs become more automated, as processes become more digitalized, and AI becomes, a core component of a lot of businesses, that jobs are going to go. Right. And what we are aiming to do here is to make sure that we are future-proofing the world. What that means is that we strongly believe that if people are more data literate, that means students like yourselves, who I don't think it should be a problem based on what you're studying and where you're studying, but also, you know, the general public out there, if they have the skill set to be able to compete in a new economy where everything is about data, then, you know, they don't have to worry about IR 4.0. They can still be very employable. And what we honestly believe in is that if a person becomes more employable by making themselves more data literate, then not only their economy, the economy of their family, but also the economy of the community and the country improves as well. So, you know, the basis of the Center of Applied Data Science is very much, you know, centered around social economics and social principles, though we are a for-profit company or organization. So that's a little bit about us. What we do is we help companies basically on a B2B model. We have a B2B and a B2C model to help predict, you know, what kind of skill set are needed in the organization, to create the pathway to ensure that those skill sets are there in the organization or company for them to be able to compete, and help to solve, you know, their talent problems, particularly around the area of, you know, digital talent or around the area of data talent in the company, by finding ways to actually improve the internal pipeline, and also finding ways in which they can connect with talents externally, focusing on the data arena, right? So a little bit about us and our growth story. You know, we started a few years ago actually, but we still call ourselves a quasi startup. We are present in 6 countries in Asia. Our headquarters is in Singapore, but our operational center is in KL. And we have actually talent from around 11 countries around the world, basically, because we pride ourselves on being a work from anywhere organization. Husna is actually a perfect example of this, right? So Husna actually joined the company sometime in early 2021, if I remember correctly, Husna.
Yes, you're right.
Right, but you know, she also had a chance and opportunity to study for her master's in Germany. So we said, okay, rather than lose Husna entirely, let's support her in her move to Germany so that she can study and also work for us at the same time. So we try to, you know, use the best possible avenue or opportunities to work with our top talents internationally. So, you know, although we operate in 6 countries, mainly market presence in Asia, Southeast Asia, but we have employees from around the world. Like I mentioned just now, employees around the world, that's around almost 90 now in terms of bench strength. And the reason why I'm focusing on the Center of Applied Data Science at the moment, before I continue to the second half of my presentation, which is how to stand out as a candidate, is because we're always looking for talent. So if you are looking for, you know, an internship opportunity, if you are, you know, graduating and you're looking for something that is on a more permanent basis, then please do reach out to us. And that's the purpose why I wanted to share a little bit more about the company as well. So we're supporting over 300, close to 400 organizations right now across Southeast Asia. And we have, I think now close to 14,000 people that have been impacted by programs. You know, in Southeast Asia. And we're hoping to move into the US market by the end of this year or by early next year. So a bit more about, you know, some of the companies that we work for. So the who's who of Malaysia, GLC, as well as, you know, listed companies tend to be our clients. We also have a few multinational companies in there as well. We have a few that have signed up with us here that's not necessarily represented here. For example, we've, you know, have a huge project ongoing with AXA and a French insurance company and a few other companies here as well. So we're really moving towards actually having more clients as our platform users. In fact, even regionally, we've signed with some of the who's who in terms of, more data organizations like Lazada, online shopping platform, as well as Gojek, right? And we're pitching to a few others as well. So, it's an opportunity, I think, for us to work with clients who are blue chip in Malaysia, as well as around the region in Southeast Asia. So what do? We basically focus on strategy, where we assess the talent. We focus on skills training, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later on. Very much focus on data science and analytics. We don't do trainings that are aside from that, outside of the area, because we're very focused on data science. We do provide a really talent pool for the organizations that work with us, because we have signed not just through government grants, but certain universities as well, whereby we will help their graduates to be placed with our client companies. So that's also another option for graduates going forward. And also, learning pathways. If somebody wants to become a data scientist, we provide learning pathways for them to be able to do so. We also get people to interact with each other as domain experts. So we try to build a community of data scientists through our platform. And that helps us to connect with people outside the organization, and for our client companies to connect with data scientists outside of their organization as well. And we also provide certification, assessments and certification, not just through some of our partner companies that we work with, and I'll show that in a short while, but also through our own programs as well. So I won't really talk about this, but this sort of like focuses on how we are different from our competitors, because we provide full suite when it comes to digital talent space in the companies. So there are the big four, the strategy consultancies that provide some consulting alignments on their data talent, and you also have things like LinkedIn Learning and platforms like that. That provide learnings that are based online. However, what we do is we do the full suite of it, right? And I'll give you an example of that in a short while. A little bit more about us. I mentioned data literacy just now. It's something that is very important for us, and it's something that you will see and hear a lot about from CADS in the public space moving forward, because we want to work with countries around Southeast Asia through their governments and through the grant providers to ensure that all the younger generation in particular are adept when it comes to their data literacy skills, because we want to make sure that everybody is employed and has the skill set that I mentioned earlier on to be able to compete in a new economic arena. I think, for graduates, people like yourselves, or even when I graduated from over 20 years ago, it wasn't so much of an issue, but not everybody is lucky, to become a graduate from a university like that. So think, for example, somebody who is, working as a clerk, a junior clerk, in Manila or even in KL. And the processes that he or she is doing is going to become automated going forward. How does he or she then have a job going forward? So if all that person is used to is just very menial clerical tasks, then it's going to be difficult for him to be gainfully employed in the future. But by improving his data literacy skill set, by understanding a little bit about Excel analytics, maybe some basic programming, maybe some basic Python skills, he can become more adept in a new market, in a new arena. So a bit more about the company, and then I'll sort of like stop, talking about CADS, my selling spiel for CADS as an employer to you guys. So a bit about our culture. We are, like I mentioned just now, a quasi startup. So there's a high degree of autonomy that's given to our employees. We are very excited about the prospect of our future because our ambition is to become a unicorn by 2025. Of course, the Malaysian government has set out and mentioned that they want 5 Malaysian unicorns by 2025, and we aim to be one of them. So how do you define a unicorn? Market capital value of $1 billion, as well as being in a technology space. So this is what we're aiming for right now. Yeah. So our culture is all about the excitement in gearing towards that. The growth. So we honestly spend, we want to do a lot in terms of developing our people, making sure that their skill sets also improve going forward. And we have an open door policy. At the end of the day, we strongly believe that we are not rooted in red tape or bureaucracy. Anybody is free to speak to anybody in the organization, including directly with the CEO. And although we all work on various projects, you can request for a particular project that you want to be signed on as well. So we have some non-data scientists that are being developed to become data scientists in our organization, and working on a lot of projects with the data science department as well. So a bit more about our values. These are our core values in terms of how we operate, and what our culture is like. Besides Team CADS, we're very open, honest, and constructive. We debate at the table, basically. So even if there are constructive discussions or disagreements, we speak about them openly. So that's a culture that we perpetuate. We honestly want our people to be curious and adventurous, to do things in a different way and in a new way. And also, a lot about relationships. So how it's not just about the outcome, but how you treat your fellow colleagues is also very important here in the organization. Okay. I won't talk too much about this, so just a couple of quick things to point out as an employer for, CADS as an employer, is that we have something that's called unlimited leave. Once an employee is confirmed, it's up to them how many leave they want to take, basically. We had, for example, one particular case where an employee has taken 54 days of annual leave, but was able to meet, her work targets completely. So it's fine. Like I said, we are work from anywhere, and we're very much outcome driven, right? A few other things perhaps to really note over here besides leave that sets it apart from our competitors. Our total compensation is above market. So we honestly believe in rewarding fairly and rewarding for performance as well. And we also have something called flexible benefits that employees can actually take for any kind of self-care purpose. Even if you want to go to a manicure or pedicure, you can also send the claims receipt through flexible benefits, basically, for reimbursement. So a little bit more in terms of some of the programs that we offer to our clients, as well as through the different grant providers. We have different types of data science and AI programs, starting with something that is quite simple, called the Enterprise Data Practitioner, or EDP, right up to something that's more complex, ADA or ADP. And this is like the tracks of the different sort of talent pathways that we're looking at. So for example, if somebody wants to become a junior data scientist, through our program, it will probably take about 28 days. And as you can see here, these are the kind of skill set that they would be focusing on in terms of becoming a junior data scientist. So we take our graduates through all the different trainings that are provided here, from Python for basic Python right up to advanced, to things like data storytelling, which I think is very important, in the current economy. A lot of companies will be looking out for this, right up to things like NLP and deep learning. And we also provide, certain aspects of soft skills as well, things like workplace adaptability, which is very important. And I'll touch a bit about this in a short while, the second half of my presentation. Creative and innovation thinking as well. So we also have a track for data engineers and a track for data analysts. So it really depends on what somebody wants to focus on in their career path in an organization. But these will be examples of the different career paths that are available and the kind of training that we provide, not just for our internal staff, but also to our client organizations as well. So what is unique about CADS is basically, unique about our organization is that we've actually signed up a strategic alignment with other training providers like Udemy, LinkedIn Learning, Coursera, things like that. So I am sure you're all aware, you've all probably got your LinkedIn profiles. If you have not got your LinkedIn profiles, you should have them by now. And because a lot of organizations, especially the hiring leaders, still look at LinkedIn as a source pool at this point in time. So instead of like just going for a LinkedIn learning course, which you can do, some of it are payable, you have to pay, some of which are free, and even for companies, if a company has signed up, with LinkedIn Learning, they make it available to all their staff. But what's difficult here is that, you would have to pick and choose which kind of courses you want to go for on LinkedIn. Whereas for our platform, the CADS AI platform, once you go through the assessment on the platform, it will actually take you through, what are the skills that you will need to learn. So this is one example. As a result of the assessment, it's determined that this particular person needs to learn SQL because their current SQL level is just at level 1, right? And their job or their talent path means that they need to be more experienced in SQL. So after going through the assessment, the CADS AI platform will actually link out all the different courses that you can go to that is focused on SQL, for example. And then, whether it is through Coursera or LinkedIn or YouTube, or whether it is part of a more definitive talent learning journey through one of our internal programs that we have. So all the person needs to do is just to add to their library, for example, and then they'd be able to go through the program. They can do so at their own speed, or unless it's been determined for them, that they need to learn it within 1 week, they can go through the courses within 1 week, for example. So this is the, how our platform is different compared to the competitor platforms out there, which is, a little bit more generic, whereas ours is more specific to the individual and provides, a whole lot of courses that somebody can go to for free as part of the program. So that ends my spiel a little bit about the Center of Applied Data Science. I hope that you will, give us some thought, if you are looking at a possible internship currently or in the near future, or if you are graduating and looking for an opportunity in the workspace, in the work environment. All right, I'll tell you a little bit more afterwards about how you can do so and apply for that if you're interested. I'll pause now for a few seconds before I go on to the second part of my presentation, which is how to stand out as an applicant. Is there anything, let me just quickly check the chat message. Is there anything that, any questions that anybody has at this point in time? Okay, I will continue from here. And like I said, if you have any questions, please do, add them on to chat. Myself and Husna will check the chat box occasionally. Or you can also ask your questions directly at the end of my presentation. Yeah. So the second half of my presentation is really more about how to stand out as an applicant. I understand that majority of you are either in year 2, year 3, or are graduating soon. Some of you would have had internships already. Some of you are probably thinking about applying for internships. And some of you might be graduating, over the next year or less, and thinking about employment at that point in time. So how I would like to structure this conversation or this presentation is really around, basically, as a person who's been in HR for about 20 odd years, what typically runs through hiring leaders. I think your coordinator earlier on did mention, that I've had about 20 over years of HR experience, mainly in the financial services sector. But I've been in a few different organizations or industries. So I can give you that perspective in terms of what hiring managers are looking for, right, at the end of the day. I want to talk a little bit more about the first part, which is in terms of a hiring manager, what do they look out for in a resume? Maybe what I'd like to do is to sort of like structure this around any ideas or any thoughts that any of you have in terms of what people look for, what do hiring managers look for in a resume? If you can just pop the idea in terms of your thought in chat, and then Husna, if you don't mind, can you just moderate the chat and let me know if anyone has put anything in?
Not yet at the moment. Okay, guys,
Okay.
so share with us, what do you think hiring managers are looking for in a resume?
I'll just pause for a few seconds here before I continue, in case
Sure.
anybody wants to add a thought.
Okay, we're not going to start unless someone said something. Okay, cool. Tayana said experiences and skills.
Experience and skills, yeah. Anybody
That's
else before I continue?
Any other points, guys? I would say, does photo plays a role, Madeline? Because some says yes, some says don't. That's another one.
Yeah, that's a good question. So should you put your photo in your resume? It's really up to you. And there's no sort of like what Husna was saying, some say yes, some say no. There's no hard and fast rule of whether you should or should not. I think do what feels comfortable for yourself. So if you feel comfortable putting your photo in, do that. But if you don't, there are other ways to make your resume stand out without having to put a photo in. I have hired and I have looked at resumes and shortlisted, based on resumes that don't have photos, because I'm looking at things that are, more important than how a person looks at the end of the day.
So they are coming out with all the other points, Madeline, if you don't mind me reading here. Sure. So from Stanley, he or she said, I'll prefer to observe character and attitude before talking about skills and experience. How do we want to portray that in our resume? That's one. And then Amar Anuha said relevant qualifications, very important, yes. And then we also have Calvin saying education. Alia said attitude. Uni said academic background. And last is from Yihua, talking about license and certifications. There's a lot of, at least 2 or 3 of them mentioned about the attitude first, but how do you show that in your resume? Because it's written, I can't see, and I don't know if you are telling the truth.
Yeah. That's a very interesting point, Husna. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And thanks a lot, guys, for putting your answers in the chat, your opinions. I think all of you are right in various respects. Coming back to the question of how do you actually put attitude in a resume, you can't, right? So there is that adage or that saying that you always hire for attitude and you can develop skill set. And I think a lot of companies do follow that, at least in the 7 or 8 companies that I've worked for throughout my 20-year duration in HR, aside from consulting. A lot of times, yes, skill set is what gets you through the door. So, how you portray your skill set and your education in your resume is very, very important, because it's what gets you through the door. But getting through the door in terms of getting the interview is just the first step, right? It's your attitude that you portray in your interview, be it an online interview or a physical in-person interview. That's the one that seals the deal, right? So again, I'd like to repeat, your skill set and your education that you portray in your resume is important for you to get through the door, but your attitude in your interview will be the one that seals the deal. Okay, and I can't emphasize how important that is. So I'm glad that some of you mentioned, education, skill set, projects, things like that are important, in a resume. So by all means, provide your education level, provide the top topics or projects that you were working on, the top subjects, that you were an expert in, that you scored very high in. But at the same time, you have to make sure that your CV is concise. All of you guys are lucky in a sense that, you're just about to explore the working world right now. So you don't need to come up with a 2-3 page resume, all right? But you can put it all in one page, basically. You have to make sure that your one page is concise. It provides all the critical information about you, things like where you studied, what are your top subjects, what are the projects that you worked on, what are the internships that you've gone for, and how it is that you can add value. So that's very important. I will go through everything, all my bullet points, and then I'll come back to this point in a short while, right? Because there's another point that I want to make in regards to that. Now, being concise means that it needs to be visually aesthetical. That means visually, you need to make sure that it looks good, but it's not overwhelming, right? So there are resumes whereby, some people have put in a lot of visuals, even to the point of putting in like flowers, and stuff like that. All of that is not needed in a CV, okay? Because it's important that people understand about you from that one page alone. So if you spend too much of that page on visuals that are not going to add any value to your resume, then don't. All right, only put in visuals if they add value to your resume, but it still needs to be visually pleasing. Now, the reason why I say this is because there are 3 types of people. There are people who are visual, so they decide based on what it is that they see. They look at something, they see something, they decide there and then whether it's a yes or a no. There are also people who are auditory, right? Who do that, make decisions based more on what they hear, what they listen. And there are also people who are a little bit more touchy-feely in terms of their perceptions, right? So you need to make sure that your resume is visually aesthetical, it looks good, okay, but you need to also focus on the important or critical things in your resume. I'll come back to this point in my next slide. Provide links to know more about you and your passion projects. So for example, if you think that you've worked on quite a number of projects or you've had a few internships and it's quite hard to perhaps put everything onto one page, you can perhaps put that in your LinkedIn profile. Make sure that your LinkedIn profile contains, all the relevant project work or output that you are willing to share with the public. As well as opportunities that you had for internships. Put all of that in your LinkedIn profile and add your LinkedIn profile link in your resume, for example. That is something that is editable, that people can easily click on because they're receiving it online, right? And they can go through your LinkedIn profile. A lot of times, and I see a lot more candidates do this now because a lot of organizations started doing this during the pandemic, is video profiles. If you can, once you feel that you are ready for this, because I mentioned just now, some hiring managers are auditory. They make decisions based on what they hear, on what they listen to, rather than what they see, right? So once you feel that you are prepared, have a video profile that you can upload on several, there are a lot of different social media, professional social media platforms that you can do this on, including LinkedIn, right? So that people, and keep your video profile to just 1 minute, max 2 minutes, all right? Just 1 to 2 minutes, nothing more than 2 minutes, so that people get a chance to know you as a person. So provide links in your CV if you can. Indicate who you are as a person. So this is something that sometimes can be quite difficult to do in a CV. And this is where you need to practice, and share your CV with a few people to get input and feedback, because you need to make something unique about you stand out. Imagine, for example, a company like, let's say Ernst & Young, they want to hire 100 graduates, basically, or even IBM that wants to hire 1,000 graduates that are more in their, analytics. It could be their finance, it could be their data science department, it could be their IT departments, right? So imagine, for example, either the HR department or the hiring manager themselves looking through hundreds and hundreds of CVs for these kinds of positions. Sometimes the decision that a hiring manager or HR makes about a CV that they have received can seem very arbitrary, right? You and your friend both applied for the same opportunity. Both your grades are the same. Both of you graduated with the same degree from but your friend had the opportunity to be called for an interview, but you didn't. So analyze why that is. A lot of times when I select resumes for interviews, or my hiring managers, the people that I work with, my business partners select CVs for interviews, they're also looking for something that is unique. Just because you are a graduate from first class honors or second upper with these subjects, means that it's the same kind of information that all your graduating buddies have put into the CV format, right? So you need to talk about what is unique towards you. Okay, is it basically your multilingual skills? Is it that you come from a multicultural background? Is it that you've actually worked on a project that was put into the market? Is it something strong that you had from an internship opportunity, for example, that you've learned and you've been able to apply? Find that one thing that is unique about yourself, that sets you apart from all your friends who are graduating from the same class, the same year, and mention that in your CV, okay? Because it's often this thing, this unique, that pops up in the mind of the person that's looking through your CV, whether or not they select you for an interview, okay? And in the next slide, I'll tell you how we can work together towards achieving that. And lastly, I don't want to put too many things here. I just wanted to focus on the critical things. Lastly, no spelling mistakes or grammatical errors. And the reason why I'm saying this is because employers are not looking for perfect English, all right? They are not looking for, a linguist, basically. But if you have spelling or grammatical errors in your CV, it indicates that perhaps you might be a little bit sloppy. There's all sorts of apps out there. There's spell check, there's things that can actually, apps and online programs that can actually make your CV stand out, look well, and ensure that you don't have any grammatical errors or spelling mistakes. So please make sure that you do that. Get somebody to review your CV so that you can be sure that there are no mistakes there. Again, it's not about finding somebody with the perfect language ability, whatever the language is, whether it's English, PM, or Mandarin, right? But it's ensuring that your CV does not look sloppy, that you actually took time to check through it. These are some of the things that, just taking a look at the time check right now. So these are some of the things that I think you should focus on in terms of your CV. I did think about sharing some CV samples here, but number one, I don't think we have time to go through all of that. And also number two, I didn't have time because of the Raya holidays to make sure that I get the approvals before sharing. But what I'd like to offer is this. Okay, because you guys are from my alma mater, right? So I have a sweet spot for in that sense. If you feel that you want to, only if you want to, please connect with me either on email, WhatsApp, or LinkedIn, I'm very happy to spend time going through your CV with you, okay? And making sure and just having that discussion with you in terms of what works well in your CV and perhaps some of the things that you should consider changing your CV. So if you want me to do that with you, very happy to do that, please connect with me through these 3 ways. I'll share that screen again at the end of my presentation. The last part is the interview. So now remember what I said earlier on, the resume helps you to get your foot through the door. It doesn't help you to seal the deal. What seals the deal is how well you do in the interview. And that is whether it's an online interview or an in-person interview. So I'd like to take one or a few seconds, just about 30 seconds to 1 minute, for you to do the same. Husna, if you could just check the chat function in a short while. What should you do in an interview? Just a few responses. Again, no wrong answers, just write down what you think.
I know one thing for sure, what to do in an interview is to talk.
Exactly, but how you talk might be
exactly, yeah. Okay, guys, so what do you guys think? What to do in an interview? Try to relax. Ace it, try to relax. And then we also have someone said, keep calm and be professional. Yeah, okay. 2 of them said confident, be confident and smile in the process. Yes.
No. Okay.
No,
So
yeah.
in the interest of time, okay, thanks, Husna. Appreciate that. So in the interest of time, I'll continue to the next one. But I just wanted to say that a lot of times these are subjective, right? So my responses here in terms of what my advice to you would be is based on my experience, 22 years of 24 years now actually of HR, consulting and in-house HR experience. But different organizations or different people might have different perspectives, right? So this is what I've seen in working with the different companies and different industries that I've been with over the last number of years. Number 1, be prepared. Do your research of the company, okay? Come in asking the right questions. Don't ask basic questions like what the company does or who's the CEO, or things like that, because those are information that can easily be obtained from a Google search or from a Wikipedia of the company, right? So be prepared, do your research, have a short list of questions that focuses on the company, basically. Know your interviewers. So these are tips that I'm giving you from behind the scenes, from a HR or hiring leader perspective, right? So before you go to the interview, look at their LinkedIn profile, find out who is going to conduct the interview, what are their names, what are their positions, look at their LinkedIn profiles, get to know the interviewer a little bit, because when you come prepared, you will do a better job. Somebody said just now about being confident, right? You are confident more when there are not many surprises, when you know what you're getting into, right? So knowing your interview is part of the step that helps builds your confidence a little bit. And also, if you've checked out their LinkedIn profiles, if something happens or, the conversation flows quite easily during the interview, you're able to ask questions about their experience and their background as well, because you have already checked out their LinkedIn profile, right? So you can ask things like, I noticed, Mr. X, that you've got about 20 years of experience in oil and gas in the finance department. How was that like? Okay, so you can connect with your interviewer on a more person-to-person basis. We're not robots at the end of the day, right? Be your authentic self, okay? What I mean is, I seen this not just from fresh grads, but also from people who are experienced as well, where they feel that they have to go to an interview and project a different persona or a different version of themselves. You can do that if you think that is what the employer is looking for, but it's not going to be sustainable. If you are a shy person, and you go into an interview and you project, very, boisterous, high energy, friendly person, very outgoing, very charismatic, but that's not really your natural self. Imagine if you get hired. is that a persona that you're going to be able to keep 365 days out of a year? All right. So try to be true to yourself. If you're shy, or if you are not very confident in terms of speaking to people, there are ways in which you can actually push that to your favor, which means, for example, address the elephant in the room if needed at the beginning. So if you're nervous, or if you feel that you're a bit shy, just state that at the beginning of the interview. Just say that, I'm sorry if I come across as a bit nervous. I am a bit nervous basically, but I'll try my best during this interview. It's things like that which endears a candidate to the interviewer's heart, and also it helps set the expectation, so that if you are perhaps naturally a bit quiet throughout the interview, the interviewer knows that, oh, it's because she's shy, oh, it's because he's feeling nervous, right? So they will then take the step to ask a bit more questions and to pull you out, to make sure that you speak more. But be open and upfront about it in the beginning. There's nothing wrong with that, about that. Like I said, you can turn your shyness into a positive, basically, right? It's about how you address it. Be concise. So Husna mentioned just now, talking is key is in interviews, absolutely correct. But be concise. Don't take too long to answer one question. Try to make sure that you answer a question no more than 1 to 2 minutes. Even if somebody is asking you a question, tell me more about yourself. Try to keep it to 1 to 2 minutes, but then tell them at the end of that, I can provide more examples if you want. Okay, or I can explain further if you want. Give the interviewer a chance to tell you if they want to find out more or not. Okay, there's so many interviews that I have attended as an interviewer, and this is not just for junior candidates, it's also for senior candidates as well, where they talk on and on and on without pausing. All right, that typically is a bit of a red signal to a lot of interviewers. If you find yourself doing that, stop, pause, apologize. Sorry, I've taken too long to explain myself. Do you want me to continue? Do you want another example? All right. So I feel that's quite important. The last couple of slides, just being mindful of time here, offer real life examples from internships or projects or even your personal life. Your results, your skills, your education may get you through the door, but it is how your real life examples will be the one that actually seals the deal, right? So if, for example, somebody is asking you about your Python skills, all right, talk about a project that you have actually worked on that utilized your Python skills, and what was the outcome of that project? How did it help the committee, or how did it help the community or the intended recipient of the project, for example? So talk about those examples from projects, from your internships, or even your personal life. If you've not worked before or you've had limited internship experience, you can still give examples, but you can give examples more in terms of your personal life. Oh, I'm interested in gaming, so I created a game the other day with my friends, and this is the concept of the game and what are the skills that I utilize for that game. So it can be anything like that. Second thing, I purposely put this here, is that the reason why is when you are talking about yourself, a lot of times, you tend to lose that eye contact. So as you're going through the interview process, if you find yourself losing your eye contact, you start looking down or you start looking elsewhere, make sure that to pause, go back to either the camera or to the person, if you're doing a face-to-face interview, and make sure that you're looking at their faces, eye contact. I know that a lot of online interviews, we have our camera functions and all that, at different parts of our screen. And sometimes we look down or sometimes we look to the side a little bit. That's fine. But occasionally, find yourself looking directly into the camera on your laptop to make sure that you are still giving the eye-to-eye contact where possible in an online interview. Doesn't have to be all the time, but just do that occasionally. Offer to share links. Now, often, you know, it's impossible for, you know, an hour's interview for the person to know everything about yourself, right? So if you haven't already done that through your CV, do that through the interview. You know, offer to share links or samples of the projects via email once the interview is done. The reason is that you want to make sure that you are continuously in the mind of the person that's interviewing you. You don't want them to just interview you for 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then that's it, stop. They don't necessarily think about you again. So you want to create opportunities that you are still visible, that you're still being thought of by the interviewer. All right, and one way to do that is to share, you know, examples or samples of projects, share links about yourself after the interview is done, because a lot of times you would be able to have the emails of the interviewers when the sessions are being set up. If you don't have that, you can request for that during the interview. That's not a problem as well. Can I have your email address so that I can share some of my work with you? All right, that's fine. It's not impossible to do that at all. In fact, a lot of interviewers prefer that. Be receptive to taking assessments and assignments. So some companies, they will, you know, tend to send their staff for an assessment. You know, it could be like in Center of Applied Data Science. Anybody that's on a technical track, we send them for an assessment through our platform, or CADS AI platform, to find out where their skill set are at. We don't necessarily make decisions based on how well they do in the assessment, but it helps us to find out, okay, what are the learning paths that this person needs to go for, or which particular opportunity or department might be more suited for this person. You know, so be receptive to taking assessments. Some companies give you assignments. You know, they say that, look, as part of our interviewing process, we want to give you an assignment. You have 1 hour, come back, you know, with the assignment results. Basically, it could be, you know, a small little project. It could be a few questions that they ask you, but they want you to come, or it could even be something that's coded, right? Ask you to code something in an hour, ask you, you know, to go through a particular exercise within an hour. So be receptive towards that, okay? Just be prepared. Provide a solid example of how you can be an asset. So, you know, I have a lot of the questions sometimes from interviewees in terms of what the company can do for them. So, and that's fine, because at the end of the day, it is, you know, it is an economy currently where, you know, the candidates call the shots. There are few and far, you know, talent, and all the companies are going towards the same talent. So it is a very talent-oriented market at the moment. But that doesn't mean that it's just necessarily all about you. You know, also give examples of how you can be an asset for the company, whether it is based on your skill set or your experience, you know, either on projects, assignments, or internships. Again, remember what I said in the resume part, what sets you apart from the rest? Talk about this as well. What sets you apart from the rest and how you can be an asset. Last couple of points here. It's okay to ask about the recruitment process. So what I mean by this is that it's okay to ask, how soon will I know what the results are of the interview? How will I know about this? Would it be through email, or somebody could give me a call? If I'm successful in this level, what is the next level? So find out about the recruitment process. Number one, it helps to manage your expectations. And number two, it tells the interviewer that you are very interested and you're really serious about this opportunity. Be polite, you know, thank them individually for their time. A lot of times you know, especially at more junior levels, you might be involved in panel interviews. There might be more than one interviewer at the same time. It could be 2 or 3 interviewers, right? So like I said earlier on, find out who they are. And then, you know, when you meet up with them, thank them at the end of the interview individually for the time that they've spent, okay? I think last year, second last, send a thank you email after the interview. State that you're happy to speak with them some more if needed in the future. All right. Again, what you want to do is to be as visible as possible after the interview process, the first interview has been conducted. All right, so that they remember you. All right, and making sure that you send these emails, you connect with them on LinkedIn, You say a thank you note to them, you remind them again that you are interested in this opportunity and that you're very serious about it, will make them remember you more, will make you stand out more in the whole interview process. And lastly, where possible, like someone said just now in one of the chats, have fun. Yes, it can be very daunting to go for these interviews, but what is important is that, like I said just now, you be your genuine self and have fun. If you have made mistakes, if you did not get the opportunity and you feel that you have made mistakes throughout the interview, I have done the same as well. Right? There are interviews where I've not been successful because I know that I didn't answer a question particularly well, or I didn't address what it is that they wanted me to address. What's important is that I learn from those mistakes or from those sessions. So it's the same for you as well. Learn from that. Have fun. It's not the end of the world if you didn't ace that particular interview, because there will be other opportunities in the future. But learn from the interviews that you've gone for so that you can be better for those interviews in the future. The last slide, and then I'll end here for any questions. So what should you not do in an interview? Just in the interest of time, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. I'm not going to come up with a long list. I'm just going to come up with just 3 main things that you should remember not to do in an interview. Number 1, don't meander. What is meandering? You go on and on and on and on. You talk for a long time, and you go from point A to B to C to D, back to point A. All right, so again, what I mentioned just now, be concise in your interviews, go straight to the point, be concise, but offer to give more examples if you can. Don't mumble, be clear. It's okay to, not talk fast. If you feel that perhaps the interview is conducted in a language that you're not very, very comfortable with, then it's fine to talk slowly. That's not a problem at all, but don't mumble. Make sure that at all times you are at least able to project your voice, and the person on the other side, whether it's face-to-face or a video interview, can hear you clearly. Even if you're shy, that's fine, but just make sure that you speak clearly. All right, at the very least, practice that, speaking clearly and legibly. And lastly here, like I said, I don't want to focus on too many negatives, not being honest about your limitations. So nobody expects a perfect fit. Hiring managers, like I mentioned just now, a lot of times they make the final hiring decision based on attitude. Skill set gets you through the door, but attitude is what wins the deal. All right, so not being honest, but if you're not particularly you don't have a very strong skill set in a particular skill that they're looking for, in a particular language that they're looking for, in a particular programming language that they're looking for, that's fine. Be honest about it, but say that you are willing to learn and that you will learn fast, and put a lot of dedication towards learning that skill set. But it's important to be honest about it. About your limitations, because again, if somebody hires you based on something that you have falsely advertised, you're going to get into trouble when you join that company later on, because it's going to be difficult for you to maintain that front. All right, so be honest, and make sure that you say that you're willing to pick up the skill set, given the opportunity, and that you'll start learning even before, right? So again, before we end this, for any questions and for the, anything that anybody has to ask, feel free to do so. I wanted to give this opportunity, not just for the resumes, any of you can connect with me. I'm happy to spend some time reviewing your resumes with you, any of you at all from this particular session. If you want to do a trial interview session with me that will take anything from about 45 minutes to an hour, I would like to, open it up and give the opportunity for the first 10 people to actually come up to me either through email, through WhatsApp, or through LinkedIn. to spend an hour with you to go through an interview itself, so that I can help you in terms of what are the things that worked well in that session, and what are the things that perhaps you should consider to improve, and how do you improve on that in your interview. So we can do a mock interview of around 45 minutes to an hour, including the Q&A as well as advice that I will give you. So I will open it up for the first 10 people to come to me on this. And again, happy to spend up to an hour with each of you individually to go through this.
Just a little bit of introduction. So I'm Husna Nisa, Muhammad Nizam again. So in CADS campus, in CADS, what I do is I am in a CADS campus team, where we talk with a lot of universities and also hiring partners, where we are involved in the facilitating our scholars to get a placement. Basically, placement equals to job in the market, and we are very focused into data professionals or aspiring data professionals who we train in our training. Yeah, so today we are going to go into like 5 different probably not 5, we will skip the case study because I think this is not so much relevant for all of you. So we'll go into a brief introduction or history of data analytics and how it comes to the picture from all the way back in the 90s and until now. And then we will talk a little bit about the big data analytics in today's job market. And I will also touch on the data analytics for all, and as well as the data analytics skills. Okay, so the first one. So a little bit of introduction or the brief history of data analytics is it has started all the way from the before 1960s even. We have the invention of database, but of course during those days, the data was stored on clay tablets, and it's hard and it's everywhere because you can't really have everything in one place, and it's in a bulk, right? It's a physical data where you have to write, you have to, there's a lot of processes involved. And then in 1960s, the mainframes was born before the invention of structured data and canned reports. During those times, it was also very, very manual, and there is no integration between databases. And in 1990s, with the internet, it helps to have the invention of business intelligence and also the mainframes replaced by the computers. I'm just going to go fast on this one. And then in 2000s, because of course the internet is already there in the market, and then we have companies like Microsoft and also the technology company at the time who were started to develop the sophisticated data dashboard. Tableau self-service report builder was also built within the early of 2000s. Before in 2010, the invention of data visualization and expansion of data science. There were a lot of conversation about data science by that time, but the awareness and also the readiness of the market is not 100% there. And since last year, especially thanks to COVID, the data science industry or the data professionals boomed. And it goes infinity and beyond. It really goes all the way now. And in 2022, we are talking more and more about data analytics. We are talking more about data science. We are talking about data scientists. We are talking about data engineers, which I'm sure all of you are somewhat exposed to because of your study background, right? Most of you are coming from the data, from the science, or at least STEM background. So there's a lot of things that's happening now, especially Internet of Things is also a thing where everyone is expected to be good, at least a certain skill of data literacy. Yeah. So we started, CADS started way all the way back, like Madeline has shared with all of you earlier from 2014. But we have started in 2016 where we start to funnel and start training our people or young people to be good in the data professional scene. The reason why is because now the demand is booming in the market and companies are willing to pay for a good data literate talent. But we realized that the talent in the market is not necessarily ready or we have a strong support for the talent. So that's why we in CADS, we develop and we train more and more young professionals or even young graduates to be good in data professionals to ensure that you have the chance to be in the market. And when we talk about data literacy, it's not just data science. It's not just data science, like the technical and like, you know, like the data analyst, data engineer, and data scientist, but we also share on the data, the basic data literacy skill, which is a Microsoft Excel, which a lot of people may look at it as if it's the very basic and simple thing, but you would be surprised of how much more that especially fresh graduate are not exposed to for Microsoft Excel. Yeah. So since 2016, we have developed and trained so much of young professionals, and they are all in the market now. And we work with a lot of other organizations and also hiring partners to work together on this occasion. Just to share with you guys that our certifications that we offer in CADS, we also have we are accredited by professionals learning bodies like Informs for international, and also MBOD, which is the Malaysian Board of Technologies, if you guys are familiar with it. Yeah. So this is Malaysian My Digital Economy Blueprint. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of this, but our government are very proactive in terms of having and also getting our young talents to be in a digital scene. So this is not just those in the market. Yeah, thank you. So this is not just talking about those who are already in the market to upskill and reskill themselves, but also, especially for the young graduates, there are a lot of programs out there that provide and offer free courses for all of you to take on to be a data literate talent. Okay. This is just an overview for all of you. You guys can read more of this on your own. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to talk about the future of jobs and in-demand skills. There's a lot of redundant job roles now. It's very much common when if you're talking about emergent. Emergent means it's growing and it's in demand now. And redundant means now there's a lot of things that we used to do in the job or in the workforce is now being taken over by the smarter system, which is the AI or the machine learning in the market. All right. So we have emerging like data analysts and scientists, and then strategic advisors, Internet of Things specialists, if you can see here. And there's a lot of things about digital transformations and other technologies that is being brought into the market. And because of COVID, again, it boosted the placement of all these skills in the market. And the redundancy that we're talking about here, things like data entry clerks, and then administrative and executive secretaries, and then the payrolls and all the human resource specialists, talking about all the tedious little works that we have to do and spend a lot of hours on. We don't really need to do that necessarily, especially if your company or the organizations out there is offering AI solution to their business. So a lot of redundancy and also the redundancy of job roles, which the reason why a lot of young people, or at least the people in the industry, has to be upskilled and reskill again to make use of what they have done before and the domain knowledge that they had to be combined with what the technology has to offer. And now they are becoming more powerful because they have the experience and also the technology to support them in whatever that they do. When you talk about data science job since 2012, there is a lot of increase since then. It is now at 650% increase in data science jobs since 2012. And data scientist appears at the top of the list in LinkedIn's report as the most promising jobs of 2019. And data science related job takes longer to fill. Yes, of course, because data science related jobs are more technical, and technical person are not easy to be found in the market. But now, I mean, I was talking about 2019, but now I think more and more young people, at least, are in the data science field already, or at least they have some sort of exposure and knowledge to the market. All right. So what does it mean to be a data-driven and for organization to be sustainable? I've seen like a question from one of you, I don't remember who, but in the form that you guys submitted for your registration, someone asked about data-driven organization. So what does it mean by being data-driven organization? Okay, so being that data-driven organization means the business has to go through a digital transformation where they adapt data and analytics into their workflow of every day. So that means when you want to make a certain decision, or you want to create a certain content, or you want to have a certain product, you want to develop a certain product, or you want to talk to your customers, you are based on data and analytics that you have. Okay, so that means includes a company to have a vision, and also with the support of technology in terms of the implementation, and also the data literacy and sustainability, where businesses are no longer just making decision based on what they see, but really they go into the market, they look into their data, be it their own data or the market data, or the collaboration data that they have from the industry for them to be a digital business. So 60% to 85% of digital transformation initiatives fail not because of the technology, but due to the talents with the lack of data literacy skills implementing them. Okay, so everyone in the industry, everyone in the organization are now expected to be data literate. Okay, so you have to be data literate. When I say data literate, it does not mean that you need to know very technical, especially if you're not coming from data science background or STEM background. It may be a little bit difficult, or rather challenging a bit at the very beginning if you were to take on the technical stuff or the technical side, but you are expected to be data literate. When I say data literate, means when you look at certain data, or you are given a certain database, you are able to look at it and analyze, okay, what does it mean to have one thing more than the other or lesser than the other, and then you can add on value to what you have in your own way. So we are talking about HR, we are talking about marketing, we are talking about finance. Every single part of the businesses are now expected to be data driven. Okay. And here's data analytics for all. Why everybody should learn data analytics, yeah? And if you're talking about data analytics, it's a pretty simple thing. And also you need to be data literate, so it's the same thing, yeah? The first thing is to gain problem solving skills. When you have a problem, now you want to solve the problem, and you want to be smarter in making the decision to make sure that your decision are as accurate as it could be. So for example, you have a problem now, you have an issue, say if you're talking about marketing perspective, you posted a video, usually you get an average of 100 likes, but suddenly that few days you posted and you get only 50 likes. So this is unusual. Then you start to look at it. Why? What happened? What's going on? What are other people talking that we are not talking about? What are the content that we should be producing and we're not doing it? Okay, so then we start to look at the data, and then you understand, there's the problem that's happening now. I need to solve the problem. So how do I do that? Okay, I need to relook into the data again. I need to relook into the external factors also. External factors could be also data, yeah. And then secondly is high demand. I work with a lot of young people who we train in our program, and they are high demand in industry to hire these sort of talents. You could be aspiring data professional. When I say aspiring data professionals, you have the basic knowledge of the tools, or you have the basic knowledge of data literacy, and especially if you have a domain knowledge of other things like communication or HR or marketing, that adds on to more value to you, because then you have both the domain knowledge as well as the technical side to be a high demand and also sought after talent in the market. I've known someone who are, she was from STEM background, yes, but she was new to a lot of the terms that we trained them for. She's in the data scientist program. So she is earning now a 5-figure, and she was a fresh graduate when she was hired in that company. So yeah, that's one part. High demand, and company are willing to pay a good amount of money for a data talent. And if you look into like a lot of companies in Malaysia, you would see that a lot of them are actively hiring. And now I don't know if you've heard the news that the digital banks are approved recently, right? And you have companies like Grab, and then C, which is Shopee parent company, and also Money Lion. They will be hiring very soon. I mean, I'm sure they will be. And also like companies like, for example, Airbnb, which recently also introduced working from everywhere policy. If you have this, it's easier for you to be in the market. Yeah. And then the third thing is analytics everywhere. Businesses are adapting into more data-driven organization. So a lot of businesses are adopting analytics. It's everywhere. If you don't want to work on it, you just have to, because it's part of the process. I'm not sure about companies outside of the center, or I mean in a more other places than the city center, but I'm sure a lot of businesses are adopting analytics. It's the same here in Germany. When I talk to a lot of people here and my friends who have started working, they mentioned that it's a high demand. If you have the skills, you will get through a lot of things. Yeah, so that's why it's important for you to be at least have some sort of knowledge of data analytics, and it's only becoming more and more important. And there's a lot of a range of related skills. The jobs that's coming to the market now, people are expecting you to be good in data analytics. Yeah. So the technical skills and soft skills employee loves to see. There are two sides of this, like I mentioned. So soft skills is pretty much apparent, and you know this. So communication, attention to detail, problem solving, research, and teamwork. So this is very much is expected. But the technical skills are the area that all of you, I am sure, have some sort of like exposure or have the knowledge of, to go deeper into it and understand further, and at least know what, how, and when to use them. And it is even better if you can start working on your own personal project, like Kaggle. I'm sure there's a lot of other platforms that you can test out your skills and improve your understanding and also skills in all these tools that we have here. But this is just parts of it. There's a lots of other tools. I'm sure you guys know better on this one. Yeah. So yeah, so this is the part where I want to share with you guys that everyone in the company is expected to be data literacy. So without data literacy, digital transformation is hard to sustain. And a lot of companies and a lot of business, like I mentioned, are going through a digital transformation if they haven't already. And if you can see here, there are 3 types of talents in the data-driven organization. The first one and foremost is data leaders. Of course, these are the decision makers in adapting data initiative to propel organization to become data-driven. So these are the leaders who knew what they are talking about, who knew what the organization is doing and where they are going, and they make decisions on behalf of a lot of people. And second is the data professionals. I think someone just unmuted themselves. Okay. So second is data professionals. This is more of the executive team or personnel working on implementing the initiative, where they are more involved in the technical side of it. And the data citizens is, I'm sure a lot of you will fall into this category, especially during the first few years or first few months of your working experience, where you are basically organization implementing and adapting data initiative for the betterment of the organization. So that means when you want to do something, it's always about, okay, now how do I do things more efficiently and more accurate with the data that I have? So eventually, whether you like it or not, you need to deal with some sort of data in your daily work life. Yeah. What kind of data? It's up to what the organization is doing and what is your field of doing. Okay, so I'm moving pretty quickly though. If you have any questions, go ahead and stop me, and you can unmute yourself if you want to. So how to acquire data analytics skills? There's a lot of ways to do that, but the 4 methods I want to share with you guys here is, the first one is to earn a data analytics degree, which I'm sure some of you have some sort of because you guys from STEM background, right? Correct me if I'm wrong, but at least that's what I get from the registration. So a lot of you are from STEM background. So if you're not like 100% on the data analytics degree, but at least you have some sort of understanding on the technical side, like some of the tools that I shared with you guys that is being used for data analytics purposes. So that's one. And then second is to go through a bootcamp. Bootcamp, it could be 8 to 15 weeks intensive course, or like our cases, we have one for 3 months, or there's another 2 which is only for 2 months. You can just join through a bootcamp and learn the skills and involve in the real data projects. It is very efficient to have a teacher, or at least a group of friends who would be able to advise you and share with you some experiences based on what they have done in the past. Yeah. And then the third one is creating data analytics work within your company. So you can ask for jobs if you are already doing your internship, or you are currently doing your internship. Maybe you can explore data analytics adjacent job. So if you're doing finance, for example, start to ask if the company has anything like doing data analysis on the finance that you have, for example. Yeah. So, and last but not least is self-learning. Of course, you can do self-learning, but as any of self-learning, it will take longer time. And I still think personally that you need to have someone that you can check what you are learning, if it's true, or if it's relevant, or if it's something wrong with it, so then it can shorten the time for you to adapt to all these analytics skills. Yeah. So what does it take to be a data professional? So there's hard skills and the soft skills, the same thing, yeah? So the hard skills is more of the data technical side and the knowledge of the platform that you're using, the language that you're using, and also the subject matter expertise based on your experiences, where the 5W1H question to how you maximize or full use of the skills and knowledge that you have on the platform. Where do you apply them? How do you do it? What program that you should be using for what situation, for example. And at the same time, it is very important for me to mention here on the soft skills. Yeah, if you have the hard skills, but the soft skills is also rather important, because now you have all the data and you have all the information that you have with you. How do you communicate and how do you coordinate this information with among the team? So there's one thing called data storytelling, for example, and it's a thing now where you have all this information, but now how do you tell them effectively to your team or your friends or your colleagues, for example? Yeah. So soft skills is also important. There's no such thing as, oh, I want to just work behind. I mean, of course, there could be such thing where you just want to work on the technical side of things. You don't want to be involved with other people. That can do, but eventually you still need to communicate what your findings are, or what are the things that you were working on with other people. So it is helpful for you to have both hard skills and soft skills as well. Yeah. And we have data literate. You can be a data literate with us in our platform, where we have a few offers in our platform as well. And if just now you asked me how to apply for the programs that we have here in CADS, there are 2 ways, but I think you can go for the platform, which is a CADS AI platform. I will share the link with you once I'm done later.
All companies, no matter big or small, are transforming their business digitally. They're looking for talents with digital skills to drive digital transformation. Now everyone is expected to work with emerging technologies, where data is the key ingredient. No matter what background you're from, no matter which position you're in, you will be expected to work with data. The truth is, you don't need to be a data professional to work with data. What you need is the ability to analyze, communicate, and work with data. This is data literacy. But how do you become data literate? Step 1. Identify your digital skills. Step 2. Get clarity on what skills to learn based on industry demands. Step 3. Get a personalized learning path unique to you. Step 4. Get matched with jobs and projects relevant to you. Step 5. Connect with peers, mentors, industry experts, and employers. Step 6. Participate in competitions to build reputation. Join thousands of others in a growing community. Future-proof your skills. Become data literate.
Hey, okay. Yeah, okay. There's a hand. Okay, good, awesome. So yeah, so that's what we do on our platform, CADS AI CADS AI platform. Everything that you see from the first step of going into the platform, and then understanding the market demand, and then understand your self-assessment, like what which level are you at, because we have the assessment in our platform. And everything that you saw in the video is available in our platform. Yeah, so we advocate for data skills learning, and that includes as simple as Microsoft Excel. There's so much that you can do with Microsoft Excel, for example, and also going from that all the way to the more advanced level of data analytics. Yeah, so infrastructure itself is not enough, so use data to prioritize and focus. So data-driven organization is driven by all of these that we just showed to you. Yeah, but we are focusing now more on talent today with all of you. Okay, so this is basically where does your organization, more on the organization, fit into the data-driven organization spectrum. Level 1 is analytically limited, and this is where traditional businesses are still relying on manual systems and processes, and they don't know where to go from here. If they want to adapt digital transformation, where should they start? Where do they begin? We have all this information, or also we work with the companies to together be becoming a data-driven organization. And then level 2 is more of localized analytics. Now you have the data, what are the existing data that you have? We start to look into it and see what are the data that you already have. And then you look into the analytical aspiration. Eventually you learn more about your company, and then provide an organization-wide data governance and sharing policy with everyone in the organization. So you become more transparent. Everybody can access to what you have already. Yeah, and then well-executed strategy backed by data for business unit operation. Again, you start to make a decision using the data that you have, or the data that the market has to offer. And to level 4, then you enhance more and more business decision making with data-driven insights, and also monitor activities and progress with dashboards. Yeah, and last but not least, you become a data-driven organization where everyone can think, breathe, and speak data. So when people ask about hey, what kind of content you want to do next week? Oh, based on the data that we see, or based on the trend that is going on, this is what people are posting. So everything is based on data. Okay. Okay, all right. So here are some parts of the data literacy learning path that it will be available on our platform. There we have an EDP program. So for you to get access to at least to the ADA program, everything has to start with the EDP. So EDP is a basic program where we offer Excel analytics and also data visualization for our young graduates. Usually it's EDP, and then to ADA. ADA will go into Python a little bit and SQL, and you would have Capstone. For all our programs, we have Capstone. Capstone means it's a real case studies or real projects that you will work on with your team. You will not be working alone for the Capstone. You will be working with a team, and eventually present your ideas or present your progress to the mentors that we will be providing you with. And then we also have DA. EDA is a enterprise data analyst. Yeah, so these are the program that you will go through. And EDS is data scientist, and EDE or data engineer is another. So out of all, JDS or data scientists will take a longer time compared to the rest because they have more to learn throughout the session. Yeah. So these are some parts of the learning path that we have here and the main ones. Yeah. And here, expand your data literacy skills is where you can go to our platform, register yourself there, and you can start looking into the free 32 assessment skills where, for example, you want to test how much knowledge that you have in each of these tools. For example, say if you go for Java or JavaScript or Excel even, it seems very basic, right? But you go there and then you assess yourself, and then you will get a score to what is the level of your self-assessment for each of these tools. And then when you start seeing this, oh, okay, maybe I am below average, for example, or I'm above average, that means you're good to go. If you're still below average, and that is something that you want to adopt, and also you want to reskill yourself into, so we will provide a learning path, a specific learning path based on your wants or based on your desire, and then it's a proven or what matters for you to take on for you to be good at that particular skill. So we'll provide that. It's automated in our platform, sorry. Yeah, so you can go on our platform and check on yourself, like what's happening. So you can check on the skills on the platform. Yeah. All right, so solve business challenges with data science and AI technology. This is the way forward, and people are talking about this already. And here is our platform. Join CADS AI Data Professional Community. Just to share with all of you that the CADS.ai platform, it is very much focused for data professionals or aspiring data professionals. So whatever that is being shared on the platform is mostly on the data science things. Like if the learning path, if the skills that we are sharing over there, and also the learning partners that we are collaborating with, it's very much specified into data professionals area, or data science field. So you can go ahead and go there. There's a lot of other Q&As happening over there also, and eventually we are going to have competitions on the platform also. So you can join us on the platform, yeah? And join conversation on CADS social media channels, leave a comment, or if you want to share about today's webinar to your LinkedIn, go ahead and tag us. We will be happy to share with you guys, or we will be commenting for a better reach for all of you. And we also have the top 25 data scientists in ASEAN. So we call it CADS 25, CADS Sunrise 25, where we acknowledge our young professionals in the market, or even like all of you in university. If you have some sort of experience with data analytics projects or research in your universities, you can go ahead and nominate yourself and be in the pool, yeah? So companies are aggressively hiring data literate talents, and I can vouch for that because I work with hiring partners, and I work with our young people. I recommend to companies all the time. Now companies like Maybank or Petronas, even they are hiring large numbers of data professionals. Yeah, so if you want to be part of the program that we are offering, you can go to www.thecads.com/datastar. Let me just type that down in the chat because I am the only one here. So bear with me, guys. So you can go ahead and do that. Our program, we are constantly doing this, yeah. And I think we have a program with the University Malaya recently on the KPT-based program, yeah. So a lot of our programs we offer with facilities or facilitation of placement. That means once you get into the program, and then you will be trained for whatever courses that you were chosen for. And then together with the program, we will have facilitation for resumes or recommending to our hiring partners for all of you. Yeah. So yeah, that's the end of it for now. Do we have any questions to address? Okay, I've seen few questions here. Let me check. What are the programs? I think I answered that question. I mentioned about data-driven organization also. Yes. As a student, what should you do to become a data literate is to start at least start somewhere with Excel if you're not familiar with Excel too. So I think that it's worth mentioning that to be data literate does not necessarily mean you need to have data science background. I think someone asked this before, Amira. I think so. Wait, let me check. Yeah, Amira. So you are from actuarial science. Actuarial science is fantastic because you can use your domain knowledge to support your data science background. And I still consider actuarial science is still within the STEM background. So it should not be a problem for you. But for those of you who are not from the STEM background, you may find it a little challenging at first, but it's a good to have. Yeah, so it doesn't really matter. You can hop on and be a data literate talent. Someone also mentioned about, does big data storage affects the environment in terms of climate changes? Are there any new promises or changes that helps to reduce the situation? If you ask me personally, I don't really know, but I do know on academic level that there are conversations going on about this. But I think for the industry, they are it's not the main concern, and their focus now is to adopt the situation and full blast on data, big data storage especially. So other questions. Probably this is also worth mentioning for all of you who want to take on data literacy. It's very important for you to start somewhere and focus first instead of trying to do everything and then you get lost on the way. How's the data profession situation in healthcare industry? That's a very interesting question. I've known few of our scholars who are working in the healthcare industry and also pharmaceutical industry. So there are demand, but it is not as aggressive as other industry, at least to the pool of talents that we have in our platform. Yeah, in general, I'm sure there is demand, but I'm not sure how aggressive it is now. Okay, any more question, guys? It's almost 12, I know, it's lunchtime. How many times can we try to apply for data star? All the time. You can apply for so many times also, but I'm sure once you apply and your application being processed, you should be able to get an answer, be it you get it or you don't. Yeah. So you can apply as much as you want. It's fine, but please make sure that you finish the whole process because there's few steps that you need to do and work on. Okay, any more questions, guys? Question once, question twice. Okay, someone asked about maximum income one can make in data industry. A lot. That's all I can say. If you're earning in euros and you're earning in dollars, a lot. Nothing compared to what you pay in Malaysia. So so go ahead and explore. Boleh, sure. Amar, you can reapply for the next session for data stuff. You can. Yeah. I'm sure if you don't get the first session, then you would know by then who would be doing the arrangement and all sorts, you can always ask them for feedback. If they're willing to provide for you, then that's awesome. And I'm sure they will be happy to help you. Okay, a few other questions that I got here. How important it is when we talk about managing data in a company in terms of giving impact to the smoothness of an organization? Very important. Very, very important. Now people are talking about data and you have to speak data. When people ask you certain things and they may ask you, where do you get this data from? Are you sure this is right, for example? So yeah, it's important. And I just want to share with you guys one thing that I find rather interesting when I came here to Germany. The digitalization phases in Malaysia, I find more proactive and more progressive compared to here in Germany. So that's new and that's interesting because I see a lot of potential and I see a lot of opportunities for talents to work anywhere in the world. The mobility of talent is happening now, and especially in Germany. I've known a lot of people who are not a local work for the company in the IT industry. So if you're good at what you're doing, you are needed everywhere in the world. So. Okay, any more questions? I am currently studying Master of Economics. Fantastic. You have a very good in-demand knowledge or domain knowledge at least. Do I have the chance to be accepted? Yes. Data style as compared to STEM graduates? Yes, yes, yes. So like I said, Chen-Yan, do I call you Chen-Yan? You having a Master of Economics is awesome and it's fantastic and it's great. It will definitely add weightage to your profile. But my suggestion would be at least when people were to ask you how do you see the link between economics and also the data science world, or how does that comes together? Because I've known someone who come from architecture background and talking about data also. So your domain knowledge will, if anything, it will just add value to your application. So long that you see the relevance why you want to pick up data literate talent. So there's no, you have a chance also. Yeah. Any more question? We have 3 more minutes, I guess. If there's no more questions, I shall pass back the ball to our moderator.